Welcome back, everybody. It is January of 2021, and this is episode 25 of What Is On My Desk. And just before we get into the video, something I should have been doing a lot more up till now, and that is just asking you guys out there, if you enjoy what you're looking at, if you like what I'm doing, go down below. Click on the like page, subscribe to my channel, and by all means, please click on that little notification bell. If that way you guys get alerted when I do get more new content up. I usually try to do the What's on My Desk monthly update beginning of the month. And I usually try to get a video or a series of videos released by the 15th, the middle of the month. So whether that's going to be a tips and tricks video, or an aviation history video, or my time-lapse videos of the previous model builds that I've got done, or an air show video, or some of my new product review videos I'll be doing. So I'm going to try to get something posted by the middle of the month. So please, if you're enjoying this, subscribe, like, and click that notification bell. Let's move on to the video. So before we get too deep into this video, I just want to thank everybody out there who have been following along with these videos. This is the 2-year mark for this channel. I started this back in January of 2019. Doesn't seem like 2 years. It's gone by a lot faster than that. And unfortunately, again, I'm not quite where I hoped I would be in terms of content and videos and whatnot. I guess it's more in just not necessarily the number of, but the content of. I'd hoped to get a lot more sort of air shows and events and location shots in, and it just, between family, work, and COVID, I just haven't had a chance to get out and do as much as I want. I do have some plans for some more future content. Hopefully 2021 I get some air shows back and I can get out on site and get some cool content for you guys. I have something lined up, possibly. There's a few roadblocks I have to work out before I can get it, so I'm not going to say too much, but it's going to be a cool airplane, some stuff that not a lot of people get to see, so hopefully it all works out and I can get you guys some really cool content, so fingers crossed on that. Otherwise, I do have some stuff going on. I've got these model builds coming along, so they're going to keep coming out. I've got more of the preview or preview videos, but log videos of all these builds behind me. You guys get to see what I've built in the past. I've got lots of that content to come up, some more tips and tricks to come out. So I got more stuff coming up. So again, thank you everybody who have been following. If you haven't yet, as I just said in that splurb down below, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave some comments, let me know what you guys want to see. And I'm not just here for me, I'm here for you guys. So let me know what you want to see, and I'll try to get that content done. So on that note, let's get swung over to the desk, take a look at what I got going on over there. It's gonna be a bit of a short video, no real new products to go over, just the build updates. So let's swing over, and as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. So here we are at the desk. As I said, no new products to show you, unfortunately, today. December was usually not the best month to be buying stuff for myself, being the Christmas holidays and whatnot. We focus mostly on buying stuff for the kids this year, and yeah, so nothing really new. I don't really have anything on the horizon to buy. Everything that I would like for my collection, I basically already have. It's just a matter of going through and building what I have, and hoping I have enough shelf space for everything. So there's not a lot out there other than maybe a few decal sheets that I'm kind of waiting to be released, but really I'm pretty good with stuff. So no new products to show you at this point, and I don't plan to have anything in the future anytime soon. So we'll get going on these updates, and it's going to be a short video, as I said. So starting off with the Mitsubishi Zero, as you can see, I have a coat of primer on it. So the model itself went together quite nicely. I have a few little issues with some spitting from the airbrush that I have to clean up a little bit. But it went together quite nicely. The seams cleaned up good. It is a raised panel line model, so you have to be a little careful sanding down the seams, but I think I managed to do an okay job. and not destroy too much of them. So the seam here at the back of the wing cleaned up quite nicely. You're not going to see much of that because it will be on its gear. So I did a little bit to clean it up a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that area. The one I did care about was this seam up here at the bottom of the cowling. It's all cleaned up nicely. The tail went on, the horizontal stabs went on nicely. There's a little bit of a line there, but I mean the real plane had a line there as well, so I'm okay with that. Same with the wing joint. You know, the fillet pieces would normally have a little bit of a seam there, so I'm not going to go too crazy. I don't want to destroy the raised panel line detail that's on this model. So I'm pretty happy with it. All the leading edges are all cleaned up nicely. Everything looks good. So I'm basically ready to do the salt weathering technique on this aircraft, which will involve the wings being painted silver, and then the salt being applied, and then the green being painted on top. So that's effectively ready for that stage. I just had it kind of sitting on hold while I get caught up on some of the other kits. As I kind of been focusing a little on. I don't have a lot of time at the desk, so I haven't been building everything. I've been focused on this, focused on that, and kind of working my way down to get everything ready to the painting stage. So that's the Zero. Next up we have the P39, the Edward P39. And again, you can see I do have a coat of primer on it. I'm a little annoyed at these masks. They included vinyl masks in the kit, and the vinyl does not want to stay down. It keeps wanting to flatten back out, so all of these masks on the top here keep popping up, and I have to keep pressing them down, so that I basically don't want the adhesive to dry out or get covered in dust, which would stop it from sticking. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm constantly pushing those back down in place to ensure that they don't pop out on me. But otherwise, this turned out good. As I said, the seams all cleaned up nicely. Wasn't too many seams to worry about on this, really. It's a really well engineered kit, but the few seams that were, this one piece at the front I wasn't a big fan of. There's a seam that runs down the middle here, and then there's this whole little square piece on the nose, which gives you the different style nose guns depending on what version you made. That had a bit of a poor fit, so there's a bit of a seam I had to clean up around there. The wings have a bit of an issue, but I mean, again, I'm not too worried. There is going to be a black wing walk painted on there. That's going to hide the worst of the seam. There's a bit of a gap on the canopy. This side went down nice. This side, there's a bit of a gap underneath of it. I filled a bit with white glue, put a coat of primer. I need to touch up some more in there. And the doors I'm just press fitting in place for the painting stage. So you can see I've got the internal paint color and the external primer. So I'm literally just press fitting the door in place like that. Shoot the color on it, and then the door can come off. So this as well with the the Zero is ready for I'm going to do a bit of a salt weathering on this. So this aircraft, I think I mentioned it before, will be overall olive drab, but then it will have a white tail and will have a white band across the leading edge of the wing. And it was used as a training aircraft later in the war, so it had those white markings to sort of signify and help easily identify them in the sky. But what I'm going to do is, because it normally most likely would have been used earlier on in the war in a different role, and probably most likely not in combat. I haven't looked up this particular aircraft's history, but chances are it would have been built and it would have been either in the Aleutian Islands or used as a training aircraft at different bases, and when it ended up its final base, then had the white applied. I do plan on doing a little bit of paint chipping on the wing. So while I do the salt technique on the Zero, I'm going to do some on this as well. So same thing's going to happen. I'm going to paint the wings silver. I'm going to go ahead and lay a bit of salt down along sort of the leading edge area of the wing. I will then paint the olive drab color onto the wing. I will then do a faded olive drab and highlight some of the panels in a faded olive drab. I will then wipe the salt off so you get this chipped paint look. I will then go ahead with a darker olive drab, and I will put some touches up so it looks like some things have been repaired. One panel might be slightly darker, or there's a little patch that was done, and I'll start putting some darker lines looking like they've done a few repairs here and there, patches. And then when all of that is done, I'll mask off and paint the white. And that way you're going to have this sort of, I might even do some paint, salt chipping on the white paint. Seal all that, lay down the paint chipping, the salt, paint the white, and then wipe some of that off. So you can kind of see where it looks like the olive drab paint had chipped off, some touches up were done, the white was done, and then the white chipped off. It just really looked like it was a dirty, beat up plane, because I mean, they were not going to be worried about cleaning these planes very much in a training role. So I'm going to kind of weather it a little bit, really make it look wet. You know, the exhaust staining will be pretty heavy. Just a real beaten up, you know, tired aircraft at the end of its life being used as an OTU trainer. So that's kind of what the plan is for that. So again, it's basically ready for paint as is. Just a few little things I need to get, like some little doors built up and painted while I work. So it's coming along. Pretty happy with this. I'm very, very excited to get this built. I've always loved the look of the P39, and it is my first 1/48 scale P39 I've built. So it's a nice addition. So moving on, I'm going to jump over to the C45. Stick with the World War II theme. So the C45, again, you can see I've got the fuselage glued together. I've been focusing on this the past couple of days working away. So I've got this glued together. I've got the seams cleaned up a little bit. Some putty has gone down. I've got the side windows all masked off. That windshield, the front window, I'm not going to put on until I'm done doing a lot of sanding. I don't want to damage it, but it is going to be the next step. Once I'm cleaned up some of these seams, that front window will get glued in. And I want to do it now because I have the ability of getting my finger in here and helping set it. If I push it in too far and it pops into the fuselage while it's all glued together, it's going to be very difficult to get it out. So while I have the ability to put my finger in on the inside, I'm going to use that ability to get that windshield positioned exactly where I want it, get it cleaned up, get all the seams filled in with any white glue or putty I need to do, mask it off. And once that's all in place and solid, then I will glue it to the wing. And speaking of wings, the wings are primed. So I managed to get all of that blending of the extended nacelles done. The extended leading edges have all been sanded in and blended quite nicely. I'm very happy with how that feels. There's a bit of a difference in look because the primer is a slightly translucent color gray. I cleaned up back here with the flaps a little bit. Again, I'm not too worried because they were a fabric and it's a little overdone with the fabric look, so I am going to knock that down just a little bit before I do some final painting. But the wings are basically ready, and I did want to make sure a lot of this was cleaned up as much as I can. I have a little bit of work I got to do in here on the leading edges just to finish up some of that seaming, and there's a little couple of scratches over here. But I have to be careful because the wing mostly will be done in Alclad. So the ailerons, flaps on both sides will be painted silver. The wing tips will be red, so red here. This is be aluminum. The tops of the cowlings are black. The bottom of the cowlings are a natural Alclad. So I had a lot of complicated painting I have to do. But anywhere where the Alclad is going to be painted, I need to ensure it has a nice clean surface because any type of scratches will be magnified by the Alclad. And then I still have to glue all the seats onto this, but I'll do that right at the very end so that once the seats are glued on, all I have to do is basically pop that in, glue it together, and that's it. And then I have to go through and clean up all the seams around the wing tips, and there's some minor work I got to do. I got to clean up this trailing edge doesn't fit quite well, so I got to do a little bit of sanding back here, clean it up. A lot of sanding and puttying in here to clean it all up, but that will come after. But I mean, it's coming along. So next step very soon, as I said, I'll get the last of these seams cleaned up. I'll mount that windshield. I'll get the fuselage glued to the wing, clean up some of the seams, and then I'll hit it with a coat of primer. I gotta get the tail and stuff glued on. So it's coming along. I'm very happy with it. It's working in stages. This is probably the most complicated of the builds because there's a lot going on, and I had to do a lot of modifications, and it'll be a very complicated paint scheme. So I need to ensure that I do everything in the right order, so at the end it'll turn out. But there you go. That's my C45. So moving on to the last model I've been working on, that's the F-15, and it has come together quite nicely in the past little while. So you can see what the F-15 looks like now. It is a monster of a plane. I mean, this is the same scale as the Beech 18, so it's a very, very large aircraft. But as you can see, I've got the nose cleaned up. It's all glued together. I've got the nose glued to the rear fuselage is glued together. The intakes, I did the white latex paint inside the intakes for the very first time. So there will be a tips and tricks video coming out. If it is out already, it will be up in the top. I'll have the link up there for that. If it hasn't come out by the time this video is published, expect it pretty soon. It is an interesting technique. So I did the latex white paint in the intakes for a nice clean finish, and then I used sponges, just basic dollar store sponges, to mask the intake and give the offset as there's a gray lip on the inside of that intake. So that's ready to go for the gray paint. The bottom, relatively clean. There's a little bit of sanding I had to do along the wingtips, but I'm happy with that. All the seams here at the nose have been cleaned up. There's nothing in here as it's two clamshells that go together. There's a bit of work up here along these forward wing sections that need to be cleaned up, and just a little bit back here where there was some stepping that had to be cleaned up. Sorry. And back in here, there was a little bit of cleanup that had to be done back on these bits. And then the wings itself, I'm not overly impressed with these wings. So on the top part of the fuselage, the entire top part of fuselage and this section of wing is all one part. And then on the bottom, you have an entire wing piece that glues on. So you have a half a wing that sticks out on the top, the entire bottom half of the wing mounts to that, and then there's these little tiny wing tips that get glued onto the top. And the issue was, while these seams all look relatively tight and everything lined up on these wingtips, on these wings, as soon as the tips were applied, there were massive, massive gaps. And the only, this lines up at the back, this would line up here, you get to the top, and there's giant gaps at the top. And I'm not entirely sure why there are giant gaps at the top, but all I could do was try to fill and sand. But I feel like there's going to be a bit of a hump on both wings no matter what I do, and I'm going to lose quite a bit of detail, and I'm going to have to try to rescribe and clean up a lot of this detail to pull it out again. So I'm not overly impressed with that, but I mean, there's not too much you can really do. But so that's the F-15. So I mean, after I've also started to work on the cockpit a little bit, so you can see I've got the HUD area and the glass installed. I just have to touch up some of the black on that. The frame for the cockpit I have weathered and cleaned up, so you can see how it's going to look when it's in place. So my next step is going to be, I need to, once I clean up that HUD, forward canopy will be installed. It will then get masked off, and I'm probably going to mask over top of all of this, and then I'll mount the rear canopy onto here and paint it separately. But then it's going to need a coat of black to do the inside color, and then I can start painting the exterior color once that's done. There's a lot of other things I have to do. The intake pieces will be painted separately. The air brake, painted separately. All the pylons, all of the gear doors, all of that we painted separately. I'll have to look at the CFT tanks. I think I might mount the CFT tanks before I do final painting. I'll have to see how those fit. The tails have to be mounted. The exhausts I will do completely separate. So there's still a little bit left to do on this before I can start painting, but it's very close. This is closer to paint than the Beech 18 is. So this is coming along. I'm very happy with how this has turned out. And we will move right along with that. So like I said, stay tuned next month. I don't suspect I will be into paint by next month. I may have started the salt work on the 39 and the 0. My main focus for the next couple of weeks is going to be getting the F-15 and the Beech 18 sort of ready to go, ready for primer, ready for paint. So that's my focus. The other two are going to be sitting off to the side. I might, like I said, start painting the wings silver to prep it for the salt, but there won't be much work on those. But that's that. I do have a little bit more coming out for the next month. Like I said, I have a bunch of my P-51 model videos. I've done all the built P-51 models. I've already filmed those. I'll get those edited and get those put up next month or later this month, as this video is going to be out early in January. I have a few more tips and tricks that I can fill up and get out. I still plan on getting out to the Aviation Museum to do some filming. I'm just kind of with COVID waiting for everything to happen and open up again. But I might do that sooner rather than later when we have the time. So stay tuned. Like I said, I am going to probably slow down a little bit on some of the video releases. Instead of releasing like 4 of those built models, I may only release 1 or 2 at a time. But stick around. I will have at least 1 more video in January, possibly some more. I would suspect more. I would say at least another 3 or more videos coming out this month. And we'll be back again beginning of February for another one of these updates. So as I said, stick around to the channel if you haven't yet. As always, down below, like, subscribe, hit that bell, leave some messages, let me know what you're thinking, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.